There it goes right now. Hold on, let's start it. Okay, let's just take a look here, make sure. Okay, we got people coming in. This is great. Welcome to our coffee this morning.
I love it.
You love it.
And I didn't know a lot about coffee about 10, 12 years ago.
And now you're an expert.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I'm learning a lot, and it's become kind of the foundation of my overall health and wellness. And I'm so appreciative of it because coffee has changed my life, as you know, and that's a pretty big statement and hard to fully understand. But I really believe coffee's changed my life, and we can get into it and how it's helped me with health. And
well,
so
we will. We've got a bunch of people coming in. So as we let people come and log in here, we're so excited for you to be Coffee for Wellness supporters and be part of our subscriber base. And I managed to get this guy to bring a little hardware with him today to share with us for our morning coffee, which is kind of congrats again, by the way.
I don't leave home without it. So it's not an American Express, but it's my American Express. So
I've kind of noticed. I've seen it on the back of the golf cart quite a few times. So that's kind of cool.
I've got a few bungees. I lock that thing in the passenger seat. It also keeps me from having another passenger. Like what better passenger is there than Mr. Wanamaker? I don't want some stranger at the club sitting in the car.
I totally get it. I wouldn't want to leave it behind anywhere either. And actually, that brings us to one of our first questions. So today, this is kind of off the cuff, right? We've got some questions that you've been nice enough to send to us, and I've got lists of them here, and there's a lot. And I don't know whether we'll get to everybody's question live today, but if we don't get to your question, I promise we will answer it, and we will post that back either online, and we'll create some way for you to get answers to those questions on the website. So what we're going to go through this morning is we're just going to have a chat, and we've got some of these questions. We're going to try and answer as many as we can, and some of those are on golf, some of them are on coffee, some of them are on wellness, and some of the other things we're doing. So we're going to bounce around a bit. We're going to have some fun.
So there was a question about psoriatic arthritis on there. I'd like to start there because it goes back to overall health and wellness.
Yeah, we did. We got a question from John. Not sure where John is. There's a lot of Johns out there. But other than your coffee, what else do you do from a dietary standpoint to help control your psoriatic arthritis?
So when I got psoriatic arthritis in June of 2010, I wanted to do more. Like I was so unaccountable for my own health. It's embarrassing because I was drinking soda all the time. I was eating awful foods, and I wasn't accountable for my health. So when I went through a difficult time with Amy's health issues and so forth. I had a lot of stress, and I was eating bad, and I was putting my immune system in a bad state. So when I got psoriatic arthritis, I went down to this health practitioner here in Encinitas, Dr. Tony Hagner, brilliant guy, and he found out that I was toxic to echinacea. Wow. Okay, so he wanted to get my what he called Th1 and Th2 cells in alignment. They were very out of balance, which was leading to me getting sick all the time. So I wanted to get my immune system in balance. And he said, coffee is on the opposite end of the spectrum. He said, coffee, resveratrol, which is grapeseed extract, and green tea extract are Th2 and echinacea is Th1. You've got to stop echinacea, drink all the coffee you can.
Wow.
Take resveratrol and green tea extract, which I do. Mm-hmm. And so in all honesty, I have not been sick in 12 years. I used to get sick every 2 or 3 months. Yeah. I drink coffee as much as I can. And that's how this kind of started because I didn't know anything about coffee.
That's right.
And I didn't want to add cream and sugar and negate the effects of the highest antioxidant food that people put in their bodies, right?
Yeah.
Now you have an incredible knowledge in coffee. So I kind of came to you and I said, help me out. Like, how can I make this taste good? What am I looking for? I know nothing.
Sure.
What is your background in coffee? And I'll get back to the what I do for psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. But I went to you and said, tell me your background in coffee. Like, how did you learn so much?
So, obviously, we probably don't have enough time in the webinar for me to go deep into coffee. But the coffee, I was born in England. I was raised in Kenya. So Kenya is this country that produces incredible coffee. And from a young age, my dad would give me coffee because it was loaded with antioxidant, and you boiled it. So by boiling the water to make coffee, you actually purified the water. And there's a lot of toxins and stuff in a lot of third world countries that you have to be careful about. So I started getting into coffee and started studying coffee everywhere I went. And with what I do, I started going all over the world looking at different coffee varietals and where it's growing and how it's growing, and found out that coffee really is the highest antioxidant food you put in your body. And what most people don't realize about coffee is a lot of people will go to like a dark roast because they think it's stronger and it gives me more caffeine. It's kind of like you're overcooking food, right? You're actually cooking the good stuff out of it. So the lighter roast coffees are actually higher in caffeine and higher in antioxidants. So that's why you like, I gave you the Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, and that's why our blend has the Rwandan, because they're grown at a very similar altitude and they're more of a lighter roast, although we make a dark roast as well, because some people like that flavor profile. So coffee has just become that one thing that, to me, it's the vehicle. You liked it, we exposed it to you, and then we were like, okay, what else could we put in there to help you with this issue? And that's where we started developing the good stuff. And so with the good stuff, we have MCT in there, which helps you feel full, but it's also really good for your focus. We've got cinnamon, which is great for inflammation. We've got the Himalayan rock salt, which also replenishes some of your fluids that you lose. We have the collagen, and then we have L-theanine, which interacts really well with caffeine. So that combination really is a superfood. And that's what we started with you. And that's what helped, right?
It was, and we wanted to reduce inflammation, because the first thing I do when I get psoriatic arthritis is we start looking at our blood work, and our levels of PRP, I believe, was the blood level that we're looking at. And I started out, most golfers are like 6 to 12, which is kind of high because you're hitting balls, you're creating a lot of impact in areas on your body that are trying to protect itself. And so most golfers are like 6 to 12. I started around 6. I got it down to 3.0.
Okay.
And then it's now at 0.03. And the way I started doing that was I added fasting in there, but I also added some anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric.
Got it.
Now, we tried turmeric in our coffee. It was terrible.
It's not good.
No, it tasted awful. So interesting thing about turmeric is that it requires heat to get activated, or black pepper.
Right.
And so I drink my coffee when it's hot, and I take turmeric right before it so that the heat activates the turmeric. So I start every day with 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams of turmeric, and I end every day with 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams of turmeric. But I also add tart cherry at night, because tart cherry is a strong anti-inflammatory that has melatonin in it.
That's right.
So that helps me sleep at night. I know there's some questions about sleep. I'm not trying to jump the gun, but I'll get into that too. And then cinnamon is a strong anti-inflammatory. So the addition of cinnamon, tart cherry, turmeric has dropped my inflammation down to almost 0. And that's helped my recovery and helped my overall health and wellness. So when I started drinking coffee and we started looking at these additives, we went through probably 30, 40, 50 different variants of what we ultimately came up with the good stuff, because this has kind of a flavor profile that I love. Mm-hmm. It also helps me in the morning stay full. So years ago, breakfast became a marketing ploy by Kellogg's, I think it was, who had all this excess rice, and they like came out with Rice Krispies and saying biggest breakfast most important is in the morning. But they call it breakfast because it breaks the fast.
That's
and
right.
The longer your fast, the longer you have in between meals, the more chance your body has to recover, and gives your organs and intestines and so forth a bit of a break. And so you end up healing a little bit more. So the longer you go in between that nighttime meal and the morning breakfast is very helpful.
That's right. And we have actually some questions on fasting, which we can get to as well. So, again, I think that the big key component there is with your arthritis, and how you feeling, by the way. You feel great, right?
I do. I mean, I feel really well, and I have to stay on top of it. Everybody has to be accountable for their own health, right? And I've been able to feel good and to be accountable because I start every day with a physical and a psychological positive notion for the day. Right? When I drink coffee for wellness, I'm like, I'm putting something healthy in my body. I feel good. And then I want to continue that throughout the day. If I have a donut in the morning then lunch comes, I'm like, screw it. I've already had a donut. I'm just going to eat whatever I want for lunch. This day's shot, right? That's not the way to go about it. So I figure there's 21 meals in a week. And if out of those 21 meals, I can eat well, 18 of them, right? If I skip a meal, that to me is a healthy meal. Or if I have a healthy meal and I have 2 or 3 bad ones a week, that's a pretty good week. But if I start the day in a bad way, adding cream and sugar to my coffee or having donuts, I feel like, okay, the day's shot. It's a psychological thing. But if I start the day like Right now, I haven't eaten. I have one or two of these bites. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I have one or two of those for breakfast that kind of hold me over. Like I'm not hungry till 2, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I've done really well today.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess this day up. So I end up having maybe a light protein salad or something, salmon on a salad, or I want to continue the day
Sure.
because I've started it well. I don't want to mess it up late. So I feel great because I've finally, after 40 years of being unaccountable for my health, I'm taking accountability. And I look back, it's probably a regret of my career, because had I had the knowledge base, and I was really just ignorant of it. I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to know what I was doing and why it was so bad. Drinking all these sodas. Yeah. I think I've had less than 1 or 2 sodas since I started doing this 12 years ago. I used to drink 6 to 12 a day. Like I was not accountable. It's embarrassing, but now I feel great because I've taken accountability, and your body has this incredible ability to heal. Yeah. So yes, I feel great.
So that's good. So pivoting a little bit to golf, because there are some stuff that we do put in the coffee that do help you feel focused. We did get a question from John. John in South Carolina, thanks for joining us. Phil, I followed you at Kiowa at the PGA on day 2. It was evident that you were focusing better. What are you doing or thinking during those 5 seconds before you pull the trigger? For my golfers out there.
So for golf, what I was trying to do is I want to create this bubble around me of calm. There's chaos going on all around us, right? So some of us, kids are crying, and we've got like on the golf course, there's noises from the trailers. You've got people yelling. You've got birds chirping, the ocean crashing. You've got carts driving, and okay, so you have all this kind of chaos around you, and I try to create this bubble of calm around me. So when he asks, what am I thinking 5 seconds before the shot? That's a little bit different. I'm actually trying to create that calm throughout the round, a calm state, and I'll before the round, before the shot, I'm trying to see the shot, visualize it, feel what it feels like to hit that shot, and then get over the ball and hit it while I still have that feel. So if you see me back away from a shot, it's because I'm over it and I lost that feeling or sensation of creating the draw that I wanted to create, or creating the fade that I wanted to create. So I'll step away, but I'll stand behind the ball. I'll visualize it. I'll try to get that feeling of the shot I want to hit. And once I have it, I'll walk into the ball and I'll hit it fairly quick. I may take time behind the ball. Yeah. But I usually, when I walk in there, I hit it fairly quick because
you're locked into that target there.
I am, and I don't want to lose that feeling, because once I lose it, then I got to get back and start over again. So the time from when I address it to hit it, it's fairly quick. Yes. The time to get to from behind the ball to the ball, it could vary, right? So, and there's not a set time. I just have to wait until I feel strong and confident in that sensation that I'm trying to create. But during the round, I'm trying to create this calm bubble. What's interesting is that you told me and showed me these studies about how caffeine increases performance in every sport.
It does. Yeah.
Including golf.
It does, yeah.
But golf, we get the jitters, right? And so we ended up adding L-theanine so that we don't get the jitters, so that it creates calm.
That's right.
And it's a natural amino acid to our body. So when I'm on the golf course, I have that heightened focus.
Yes. But you have that calming effect.
And
that's why we did it. I mean, a lot of people do have that caffeine sensitivity where they feel that jolt of coffee in the morning. That's kind of why we do it. And we've had some questions about how much coffee should I drink? And, a lot of people think coffee dries you out, or it's a diuretic, makes you go to the bathroom. Well, you'd have to drink a lot of coffee. Coffee is 98.5% water, right? So drinking coffee is still good for you. But if you're going to drink 6, 7 cups in the morning, then yes, it's going to dry you out eventually, but 1 or 2 cups it won't. But when we added the L-theanine, that was really what it does, is it reacts beautifully with caffeine to take away those jitters. So for a golfer, that's why I did it, is I was like, I don't want my golfers over the first putt going like this. And that's why we did it.
So another big thing is that, hydration, especially from a mental standpoint, is extremely important. And your brain will not, water and hydration will not go to your brain if it has anything in it other than just plain water or citrus. Mm-hmm. So I try to start every morning with a bottle of water, because then that will hydrate my brain. And what will happen is, if I don't hydrate my brain, the coffee won't actually hydrate my brain. It will my body, but it won't go up there. So if the water's not getting to my brain to replenish that those cells, the vessels will start to constrict to try to maintain that water up into my brain, and I'll get headaches. Right. So when I get headaches, I'm basically not drinking enough water. But I like to start the day and before I have coffee with a bottle of water to make sure that my brain gets hydrated.
Right.
And then I drink as much coffee as I can. Now during the round, I'll add water also. And the sea salt in the coffee actually helps my cells retain that water and hydration. And so I'll actually check at the turn 12, 13, I'll go use the restroom and see the color of my urine to make sure it's clear and not too dark. Because if it's too dark green, then I know that I'm not hydrated and I've got to do something about it. But this has helped me maintain hydration throughout the round.
Sure. So, and you say water in the morning, very important. And I like it actually at room temperature, not cold. So room temperature is actually better. It gets into the system.
100%. 100%. The cold is kind of a shock to your organs. And if you look back in a lot of Asian cultures where they drink hot tea with every meal, what they're doing is they're keeping their intestines at a similar temperature. And so it flows through your organs a lot better than, extremely ice cold. So I try to drink my water at room temperature as well, so that I don't kind of shock my organs. And then when I'm eating food, I certainly don't want drink something cold with like a steak.
Yeah.
Right. Because you have grease and you have so forth. I don't want that to harden, which will harden if it gets cold. So if you keep warm drinks while you're eating that stuff, it will keep it in a more liquid state and allow it to flow through your body a little bit better. Yeah,
no, that's great. There's been a couple questions on the good stuff, and can you put it in other things? Well, you can. That's why it's the good stuff, right? You can put it in smoothies. You can put it on your cereal. I've had people make chia pudding with it. So we are gathering more and more recipes that we're going to end up sharing with you guys. And I think it's going to be, I think you guys are going to love it. Just got to get rid of this right here real quick. Okay, something popped up on my screen there. I'm just trying to move that. But anyway, you can put it in a lot of different things. There's nothing in it that's bad for you. That's why it's for wellness, right? So it's good. Someone asked about fitness. So how much cardio training is part of your routine, and what type of cardio do you prefer? That's from Michael Parker. Michael, thank you.
So this is your area of expertise, right? So Dave founded TPI with Greg Rose, and they've become the foremost experts in performance in all sports, on how your body performs and functions and so forth. And I like cardio. I have a great trainer, Sean Cochran, and we've been doing this for now 19 years, and we work out together to where my body functions well. But cardio is important. Now, what I found is I don't like to run because my body doesn't feel great after I run.
Yep.
So Amy, who loves to hike, we go on a lot of hikes together, and it's a great way. We'll put ankle weights on, or we'll might carry some dumbbells or something to make it a little bit more demanding, and then we'll try to increase our heart rate pretty high, and then we'll slow down.
Yeah.
So when we go up a vertical, we'll push and push and push until our heart rate really spikes. Then we'll slow down. It's kind of like an interval training, like on the machine.
Well, and you bring up an important point, because for golf, what most people don't realize is they think we're out there for 5 hours. We should do all this cardio. Well, it's a ballistic sport. You're really exploding for a few seconds, right? And that's when you get over the shot and everything's got to go. So we would rather train you to get your heart rate up and down for cardio than over a long period of time. So I'd much rather do that kind of training, where we do something where you're going up a steep climb, getting your heart rate up, going down the other side, as opposed to some long distance run. It's just not good for your joints long term.
Yeah, and so that's why I really prefer challenging hikes. Plus, it's beautiful in the ambiance, but my body feels good afterwards.
Yep.
So I tend to gravitate towards there. Fortunately, we've got the game of golf where we can ride carts. Now with the Champions Tour, they allow carts every now and then, which
I'm not going to let you
nice
do that.
deal. Yeah.
I'm not going to let you do that. I just need to clear something off my screen here real quick.
But it's not. Fortunately, golf is a sport that we can stay active and moving, and walking has been a really big part of like overall health for a lot of people as we get older, because it keeps you moving, it keeps you active, keeps your heart rate up. When I go in the off season, November, December, I'll try to walk a golf course, and I'll try to wear ankle weights so it's more challenging, so that when I get on tour, it's a lot easier because I don't want to struggle those last 4 or 5 holes.
Yeah. And actually, there's another question, which is actually a good one because you do a lot of this. But, Michael asks, for us senior golfers, what's more important, flexibility or strength to hit more bombs?
So that's interesting because they're both really important, right? And when we hit 40, our muscle mass starts to deteriorate about 1% a year. So we're going to get weaker and weaker. As we get older, it's more and more important to lift weights. It doesn't have to be heavy weights, but we've got to lift
maintain muscle.
To maintain muscle mass. And then obviously we want to stretch. I've been fortunate in that my trainer, Sean Cochran, is a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. And so we've been doing that for 20 years. I've really enjoyed that because it helps with my flexibility.
Yes.
And you can get your body in positions through movement, much like a baseball throwing. He can get his arm much further back through the motion of throwing than he can statically, just standing still. So I'm able to create more elasticity in my muscles when I create kicks and keep my lower body a little bit more flexible because my back will tighten up, but it will start in my hips.
Right. And we often see you. I've seen you sit on the golf course, cross your legs and kind of push your hips apart. Everybody thinks you're relaxing, but I kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah. So one of the things is I'll do a deep squat and I'll push out on my legs with my elbows and hands because that's the only stretch I can do that gets the muscles around the facet joints and the low back to kind of loosen up.
Yeah.
If you stretch your hamstrings and your hips and so forth, it doesn't really get those small muscles around your spine. So I have to catch it though. If I can catch it in my hips before it gets to my low back, then I'm preventing it, right? So I'm constantly opening up my hips in stretching and exercises daily. I'll do it a couple times every day. In fact, I can't stand around very long without stretching because I'll feel my body lock up. And it is harder as we get older when we have a break or there's a delay on the golf course, you're waiting 15, 20 minutes to get the body activated again. That's not easy as we get older.
And you touched on something that is actually extremely important for you at home. And that is when you said, when my back gets tight, there's a lot of people that leave golf or just get back pain. We're sitting a lot. And the reason you're getting back pain is most likely where the pain is not where the problem is. It's usually because your hips aren't functioning properly. And as a result, the stress is going to your lower back. So those exercises you're doing around the hip and mobilizing the hip, getting your glutes to fire, they're so good for the lower back. So if you can learn anything from that, get those hips mobile and it'll help your lower back pain. Okay, we got one more. Phil, can you share, actually we kind of hit on that daily stretching routine. A little one on sleep. People, I'm curious of both of your sleep habits. As we age, I'm having trouble getting more sleep as we age. So what do you do to get to bed at night?
So we talked a little bit about tart cherry because it has melatonin in it.
Yep.
Certainly we can take melatonin, which is a natural ingredient to the body, but I prefer to try to use other areas like tart cherry to help me get to sleep.
Yep.
But it is more difficult as we get older to get on a good sleep schedule, and it's very important for overall recovery.
It is.
But I'll do a lot of other things for overall recovery that end up helping me sleep. So for instance, I like to do red light and infrared light therapy. You kind of turned me on to that back in 2007. And the studies, the 10-year, that was very new back then. And the studies have been coming out now, 10-year studies on the benefits and effects of that. So I liked it so much. I ended up getting, I have a travel machine, but I also have, a light bed as well as a red light sauna. So I'm very big into the light and how it helps my cells kind of recover, rejuvenate. And it usually, when I get off of get out of the red light sauna, I end up go to sleep. I go to sleep pretty well. I go take a shower because I'm sweating, and then I usually sleep pretty well after that.
Yeah. So a lot of the research on sleep, you got to minimize your digital devices before you go to bed. So you don't want to be watching TV half an hour before you go to bed. So kind of shut that down. You also want the room to be nice and cool and dark, right? So we usually like 67, 68 degrees. Or even cooler if you can handle it. I'd rather you snuggle up with someone or in a blanket than be hot. And usually when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's because you've gotten too hot. So keeping a room cold is very beneficial. Keeping it dark is beneficial. And then you mentioned recovery. We're actually working on a product called Recovery, which is another form of the good stuff that adds tart cherry, that adds, we actually put some maca root in there, some tart cherry in there, some cacao. And it's still the base is the good stuff. But the reason for the tart cherry is because it has melatonin in it. And it'll actually create that calming effect. So we really did it more for, if you like a coffee in the afternoon or later in the day, but you're worried about staying up at night, you can add this to your coffee and it won't keep you up at night. So that's why we're building this recovery, and it's going to be great in like smoothies and things like that as well.
So I found that as I drink this at night, after I eat dinner, I get a little hungry, or socially there's people having dessert or they're having something, and I just like socially just want to like have something.
Yeah.
And what I found is that this recovery blend that we've created has cacao and it has tart cherry, which actually creates a smoother, silkier kind of coffee. And it's almost like a little mini dessert treat, even though there's no sugar in it per se. I find that it gives me that little social element to sip on, but it also keeps me full.
Yes.
The MCT powder keeps me full, so I don't need that late night snack.
That's right.
And it's helping me in controlling my weight. I've fought the weight demons my whole life. It sucks. And the biggest issue for me is like late night eating. And this has allowed me to kind of control that much easier without giving into, kind of the impulses and temptations.
Yeah. So, a couple of questions were coming in. I was just checking there on fasting. So you've been down this road. We started with like an intermittent fast, which intermittent fasting is limiting what you eat from say 6 at night till 12 the next day. And then you took it a little bit further. You've done some more in-depth fasts, but tell us a little bit about that.
So I become a believer in fasting. There's a great show, I think it's on Amazon Prime, called Fasting, and some of the studies are here in La Jolla at Scripps and UCSD. But what I found is that it started to become the standard of care for chemotherapy patients, a 3-day fast prior to chemotherapy, because your immune system resets after 3 days.
Yeah.
And it starts to get rid of the toxins a lot easier, and it gives your body a break. So there's been a lot of studies that show that there's a lot of benefits if you can stop eating food and fast for 3 days, because the theory is that everything you put in your body is either causing disease or helping you fight disease.
That's right.
And when you give your body a break, you're not feeding the disease, you're giving your body a chance to heal. And the intermittent fasting is doing it on a smaller scale, but I tried to like give myself an overall reset so that I could, when I went off of my meds for psoriatic arthritis years ago, I started with a 6-day fast because I wanted to let everything reset.
That's right.
And I haven't had a problem since. So I've been lucky in that regard.
And so, listen, anytime you're going to undertake fasting, you really want to get like a nutritionist or a medical professional to talk to you about what you need, because everybody's a little bit different. You don't want to just go in and stop eating food, period. But
why not?
Because it's good. Like you don't.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I know you shouldn't just stop. So I'm trying to needle him a little bit. Sometimes he gets a little bit too severe with the fasting, but anyway, okay. That brings us to another question. We're trying to go to fasting, and somebody's asking, what in-round nutrition? What should I be eating on the golf course?
So fasting during a round, probably not a great idea, right? Because you're tend to tail off,
and you're out there a long time too.
You are, and you're utilizing a lot of energy, and you'll have a fall off late in the round. And I found that to be the case because I actually was trying not to eat during the round and so forth. But we ended up coming up with something that has been helpful for me, because I don't want to eat a lot of food, right? I don't want to feel heavy. I am heavy, but I don't want to feel heavy. And I don't want to have a spike in insulin. So I don't want to be eating sugary foods or fruits or what have you. And we ended up coming up with something that has, well, tell me about the ingredients, because you were the one that developed this for me to help me maintain focus on the golf course, keep me full, but not have an insulin spike. So how did you do that?
That's right. So what we're actually talking about and pointing to here is we actually have these coming out, which you guys are going to get. We're going to send our subscribers some of these to try. They're called Snacks for Wellness. And it's just a little bite, right? And the reason we really did this was just for that reason.
It's a good bite.
It's a good bite.
It looks small, but it is really filling. Go ahead, sorry.
So there's a reason I made it look like a brownie. It tastes like a brownie because I know he likes a little sweet tooth. But it is all organic. It's gluten-free, lectin-free. It's kosher. It's got Himalayan rock salt in it. It's got some almond butter in it. It's got cacao in it. It's got reishi mushroom in it. And the really big basis for this was I wanted a snack that was under 90 calories, something you could throw in your backpack, in your golf bag, and really for him in between fasting. So if you're that person that, hey, I have my coffee in the morning. I don't really feel hungry, but 10 o'clock, I'm a little bit hungry. This will tide you over till lunch, or after lunch, maybe like 3 o'clock, you're a little bit hungry, or you notice your focus going down. Again, one of these, they're only 90 calories. This will be really good for you. And so we're really excited about that. We worked hard to find a supplier that could do what we wanted to do. And I know you're enjoying it, aren't you? Yeah, it's good.
It's moist,
It's really good.
it's dense, and it's delicious.
There you go. So that's the tagline. It's moist, it's dense, it's delicious. It's a superfood energy bite. It's called the Cocoa Espresso Brownie. It does have a little bit of coffee in it, because why wouldn't we put coffee in it? It's good for you. And I can't wait for you guys to try these. So these will be launching in the new year, but we are getting some in now, and we're going to be sending them out. We're going to throw some in, give you a little surprise here and there for you to try these. But I hope you enjoy it, because it's something we've worked really hard on. And even though there's lots of bars out there, and protein and energy bars, which are great, they don't taste like this. This tastes amazing, right? Okay, so that's one of the things you should eat on the golf course. So that would be really good for you. That's kind of why we did it. All right, couple more, actually lots more questions to get to, and we're going like we usually do. Best way to center yourself after something external is affecting your game. You kind of talked about that in the first one.
Yeah.
But if something sets you off during a round, is there a way to kind of bring your focus back?
So that's a real challenge to perform at the highest level, because the ability to control your thoughts and control your mind is a huge factor, because we're going to have moments in a round where things don't go exactly where we want, or in a tournament over 4 days. Yeah. And you have to be able to get control of your thoughts and refocus on what you want to do and not what you don't want to do. So when things are going bad, a lot of times you start seeing the trouble that's in your mind, and the ball tends to gravitate there, as opposed to being able to refocus your thoughts and your mental picture and visualization of seeing where you want the ball to go.
Yes.
So a big help for that is meditation, because when you're meditating and you're sitting still, your mind, it starts wandering, and you have to be able to get control of that thought and refocus on whatever it is you're doing, whether it's a zazen type of focus, where you're hyper focusing on a point on the inhale, and then as you exhale, you're letting the peripheral go. Or if you have a guided meditation from one of the apps, or Insight Timer or something, where you are listening to certain areas, certain people talk about areas that you're going to gain control, or what have you want to focus on. So the ability to refocus your mind on what you want to have happen is a critical element in the success of golf. And we've seen it in players that they have a round start to go bad, and it gets monumentally bad, as opposed to redirecting it. And if you look at like guys that have been great closers, obviously Tiger's a great closer, and Mickelson, and their ability to control their mind and their thoughts and refocus after bad shots. When they make a big number, they always come back and refocus and follow it up with good shots. Yeah. And that's tough to practice. It's tough to do, but it's a skill that once you learn, it can be learned. Once you learn it, it's much easier to do. But the only way that I know of to practice it really is to meditate, or actually play in competitive rounds more often. So whether you're playing for your buddies for money, or playing in more tournaments or whatever, you've got to be able to learn how to refocus your thoughts when you need to.
You brought up a couple names there, because there is a question here from, let's see, I think this is from Tom. You played, actually, Don. 2 most memorable playing partners. Why and when? Where did the rounds occur? So you've played with so many people, but there's got to be some people that have really affected you. Give us 2.
So a positive effect is Fred Couples, because Fred is, he's got great energy. He's cool. He's laid back. And I've played some of my better golf when we've been paired together, because we have a good time. Yeah. And I think he's played some of his better golf too. I remember we played together in 2006. Okay. Final round, I believe it was, where at the Masters, where I ended up winning, and we were paired together, and it helped to reduce a lot of the stress. Yeah. I play better when I'm having fun and a little bit more talkative. I've had to learn how to play better when I don't have playing partners that are talking like, right. So in 2004, Chris DeMarco is a good friend of mine, and we played together in President's Cups as partners, and we were paired together final round of the Masters. That was a huge help for me to finally break through and win my first major, because we were able to talk and keep it light and keep it fun and so forth, to where we get to the back nine and things get a little bit more intense, but it's still, the energy flow is different, right? So it was always a challenge for me starting out playing with Tiger, because he wouldn't talk, and he was very much into his own thing, and it wasn't fun or affable. He would kind of cut you off. So that was always a challenge for me, and I had to learn how to be able to do that and play well in that environment, whether it's talking to Tim, my caddy, or just getting in my own little world or my own little bubble of calm, if you will. And it's still a challenge, but it's something that I've been able to find a few things that work.
Got it. So you've played a few events on the senior tour, obviously, and
Champions Tour. I prefer to call it Champions Tour. Yeah, go ahead.
And you've actually played quite well. So I know a lot of people are asking, kind of, do you see yourself playing more out there? Do you see yourself staying where you are on the regular tour? Obviously, you've got plenty of status, so that's kind of cool.
So the challenge of playing against the best players in the world is what drives me to kind of be my own best self, if you will. It drives me to be accountable for my health, to be healthy, to be physically fit, to keep my swing speed up, to go through speed training, which we're doing now, because my speed tends to regress throughout the year, right? I'm not able to maintain it all year. So I need that 2 months time in November, December, January to kind of build up strength, go through that process, build up speed and agility and whatnot, and then create that speed. So that is what drives me, is creating moments like these that I cherish for a lifetime and won't let people forget. So those moments are what I really value. And then it carries over onto the Champions Tour, because I'm playing at a higher level that's more competitive against best players in the world. And I'm able to take advantage of kind of the shorter, easier courses that we play on the Champions Tour. Not that they're short or easy, but they are shorter and easier relative to the PGA Tour.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to spin us back to coffee, because that's where, we've got a lot of coffee drinkers here. Love coffee.
Who doesn't love coffee?
Who doesn't love coffee?
Nobody.
So I actually have something for you here, because this is kind of cool, because I always give you a gift, but we actually have a gift box that's coming out this Christmas. I hate to do a kind of selfish plug here, but I am. So here's the box. It's a massive box.
What goodies do we have in that box?
So I'm going to show you some of the goodies, because
I want some goodies.
It's actually really cool. So a lot of people have been asking about these, right? And this is our little blender, right? So basically how you blend the good stuff. There's a lot of people asking what we do and how we do it. We get these little blenders, and you can get them online. We're going to be featuring some of these shortly in our store, but they are coming in the holiday box. And again, these are great for mixing up the good stuff. You really want to mix that up. We've had some questions on how do you mix it up? The keys to me is when I'm putting the good stuff in, I put it in while the coffee is brewing, because the heat from the coffee is actually helping mix it up. And then I use one of these, whisk it up a little bit. If you don't have one of these, a good stir, or even worst case scenario, back and forwards between 2 cups. Anytime you get oxygen or air into coffee or the good stuff, it enhances the flavor. So that's why we whisk it up. It also helps break it up. So you got to whisk. That's a cool
And I like to add Manuka honey to my coffee.
You do. So tell us a little bit more about what you put in your coffee, because as much as I wanted to create that with the good stuff, we knew we couldn't, because you like to add a few of your special ingredients.
Well, I like, in addition to the good stuff, I'll often add Manuka honey, and I add Manuka honey because it has more, a higher K factor, or more pollination, or what have you, because of that specific honey in New Zealand. And what happens is nothing grows in honey. So honey never goes bad.
That's right.
Okay. So if you get a cut or whatever, and you put honey on it, like, it'll prevent it from getting infected. So the honey also helps you build up antibodies against allergies. So when you get the pollinations, let's say, of a local honey, most people should drink local honey because they don't travel as much. You'll build up these pollinations so that you don't have allergies to those specific things. So when I travel, I used to have an allergy to ragweed. But when I go to Augusta and ragweed is out in the air and the pollen and so forth, it was hard, sneezing and whatnot. But because of, and I use Manuka because I travel. So I don't need a local. I'm all over. I want the highest K factor I can get.
Which is what Manuka does.
Which is why, and it has a nice flavor, but there's a lot of different flavor profiles in honey, and it changes coffee. But I put just a little, maybe a
half a
teaspoon,
yeah.
maybe a teaspoon in it, and that whisker kind of whisks it up. And
Yeah.
I put it also right in as the hot coffee is going in.
So take us through what else you put in, because you do like a little bit of
Pretty much just that, maybe a little. I
Yeah.
like almond milk, so
Yeah.
I'll use a little bit of almond milk, a little bit of oat milk, either one.
Yeah.
I like almond because it's less calories. I like oat and almond flavor profile, but it creates kind of like a smooth latte. It smooths it out. And if I'm going to see, before Coffee for Wellness came out, we mixed up everything together. I was mixing it myself, right? I had all the ingredients. I'm traveling with all these ingredients and pouring it in. It was kind of a pain. And if I'm going to not eat today until much later, I'll add some more MCT powder.
Yes.
Right. Just
Helps you feel
isolate
good.
it. I'll just put some more powder in because it helps with cognitive function, yes, but it also suppresses my appetite and keeps me full a lot longer. So I may add a little bit more of that. There's no flavor really, other than it does make it a buttery smooth taste. The collagen protein, there's really no flavor. Yeah. There is no flavor, but the MCT powder makes it a little bit more buttery, a little bit more smooth.
It does. And the reason we use powder and not oil, there are some people that like a little oil in there, is oil tends to create a little bit of residue on the top. The powder sinks a little bit more to the bottom. So one of them is a little bit more sustainable. The powder will stay in your system a little bit longer than the oil will.
And your cells, it's more soluble by your
Exactly.
cells.
It is.
The powder is over the oil.
It is. It is. And you mentioned MCT, there are some people that put a little bit extra in collagen as well. You can get flavored ones as well, because we do get some people that are like, well, I'm not huge into cinnamon, so what else could I do? You could add a little bit of MCT with hazelnut, or MCT with vanilla, or collagen with vanilla or hazelnut if you like those flavors. And those are natural flavors. That would be better than adding sugars.
Yeah.
Or sweetness, right?
Exactly. It gets back to and those have great flavor profiles. We've tried all those. I love them. Like I love the hazelnut, and we're looking at some products that have that hazelnut profile. But all of those things are everything that we do at For Wellness. I want it to be health based. I don't want to be putting artificial sweeteners or any type of thing that is not good for you. I want you to be able to trust the fact that this is about your overall health and wellness, and everything we put in is good. Okay, what else do we have here?
So what else we have? So we do have the mixer in the holiday box. We have the mixer. We do have a really cool canister. This is a canister for coffee beans. You could put your good stuff in, but it's a sealed canister, so it keeps the air out. So anytime you get fresh roasted beans, you want to put them in an airtight canister, because otherwise they're not going to last as long. So
how long would they last without the canister?
I mean, obviously, without a canister, I probably wouldn't grind beans that are over 2 months old. I mean, if you put them in a canister, they can last a little bit longer. I mean, if you're really kind of anal with your coffee like me, 2 weeks. I like fresh beans every 2 weeks, but I also buy small lots, and I try things from all over the world as well. And our coffee, you do get our coffee in there as well. So these beans right here are freshly roasted. This is a combination of Rwandan and Colombian coffee. The reason it was chosen is it's very high in antioxidants, and it's also grown at the same altitude, even though they're in two different regions. And that gives it some antioxidant properties as well. So
our beans here are more of a medium roast, and the beans we use in our K-Cup are stronger.
They are.
Because you only have a smaller amount of coffee to use, and we needed a stronger profile because the good stuff dilutes some of the coffee flavor.
You're absolutely right. So this is a medium roasted coffee. We do have a dark roast coming as well, but we also, in the K-Cups, we went with a darker roast. And the real reason being is, when you put a K-Cup in, the extraction is not the same. So if I'm going to do like a pour over coffee, most of the time I'm going to want 20 to 23 grams of coffee, whereas in a K-Cup, I can only fit 12. But people are putting 8 ounces of water through a K-Cup machine and wondering why it's not very strong. So you almost need to go with a stronger or more of an espresso blend in a K-Cup. That actually gives you more of a dense cup. And if you're going to put anything in it like milks, I would rather you do strong setting, 6 ounces of coffee, and then put your milks or whatever to give you an 8-ounce cup of coffee. Right?
Yeah, and sometimes I'll actually even double use the K-Cup. Like if I want a more diluted or softer flavor, I'll run it 8 ounces, and then another 6 ounces. I'll have a longer and use the same K-Cup, but it's a softer coffee flavor.
You can actually do that. And it's a good point, is that most people don't realize that the coffee's still in there, and running hot water through it again, it's not going to be a problem. So you can get more uses out of it. And then inside the box as well, we have a couple of our travel packs of the good stuff. So you get 2 of these. you get the coffee beans, you get the canister, you get the whizzer, and you get some of your golf balls.
With my logo on it, which is
Yeah,
kind of cool.
which is-
Callaway was pretty cool to do that.
They were.
But all right, so we've got a little bit more time here. What are some other questions that some of our subscribers had? And I hope that everybody knows how much we appreciate their support, and I appreciate people taking accountability for their own health and enjoying the process.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much nailed some of these questions that we have, and I know we're coming a little bit close on time here. And to your point, I mean, the reason we did this is because first, we want to thank you for doing this and hope you guys have an amazing holiday season. And any questions you have, and any ways you use the good stuff that we don't know about, we'd love to hear from you, because we'd love to share that and really build a community here. The products we're making and what we're really focused on is things for your wellness. And like you said, in today's world, more than ever, we need to take accountability for our own health.
So everything's organic, everything's health-based, and some great flavor profiles. Dave, tell me about when you were a kid and you and your dad would take coffee to some local tribes in Africa, because this ultimately led to a lot of your knowledge base in coffee and the baobab tree and so forth.
So yeah, there's many stories I have about Africa, but Africa is a special place, especially when you grow up as a child there. And actually, what happened with the coffee, and the reason I was exposed to the coffee, is my dad used to have an old Land Rover, which many people do, and we'd get up early in the morning and jump on this thing on the weekend, and he would take me out into the bush or
Now, before you go into that, why did you live throughout Africa so much? Why did you travel so much throughout Africa? So back to your dad.
Yeah, my dad was a military guy, but he was also worked for the United Nations as well. So we went to a lot of foreign countries, and I've lived all over the world. I've actually lived in 27 different countries all over Africa, the Middle East, the Far East, and been to some amazing places. It was an amazing childhood as a kid, going through what I went through, and seen a lot of things, crazy things. But when it circles back around to my coffee, we used to go to this one area, which was by a watering hole, and some people have never been there, but early in the morning in Africa, when the sun comes up, is a special time, and animals come to drink. And my dad would always take me to this one spot, and there was this massive baobab tree that we used to sit by. And a baobab tree is a tree that looks like it's growing upside down. So it's just roots growing out of the ground. So if you look up baobab tree, it's a weird tree. And basically, there was a Maasai tribesman that used to come and sell us coffee. And he would pick the beans and roast the coffee in a fire. And he would come, and for what we call a shilling, which was probably 10 cents, you could get him to give you a cup of coffee. And that my dad would always buy the coffee, and he would give me that little cup of coffee, and we would sit there watching these animals come to drink with the sun coming up, having coffee. So very special in my heart is that relationship with my father doing that, and also that introduction to coffee. It became a part of my life that I've hung on to my entire life. And that's why I've, with my travel all over the world, I've looked all over the world, and I've studied the best coffees. And that's why I'm so excited about this brand for wellness, because it's something where we're going to be bringing products that we find from all over the world that really are grounded in wellness. And that's so important for people today.
So West Rock Coffee has been outsourcing our coffee for us.
Yep.
And I thought it was a fascinating story when the Ford family would go over to Africa, and there was that Rwandan genocide, and the new president found out here was a very successful CEO. Like, what can we do to help the infrastructure in Rwanda? And what was happening was a lot of the males were executed, and the women were taking over these farms, and they were selling their coffee for 30 cents a pound, as opposed to the marketplace, which was like 90 cents a pound. And it was quality coffee. And he said, well, you've got to get rid, he gave him a few things. You've got to get rid of corruption. There was a few things. I don't know the politics of it, but he wanted to help out. So he started a coffee company. Now it's one of the largest coffee companies in the world, West Rock Coffee, based out of Little Rock. But it started from trying to help the Rwandan families and their coffee get a fair market price.
That's right.
So he started buying their coffee at a fair market price. And now some of the wealthiest people in Rwanda are the women who have run these farms,
That's
right?
Yeah.
And they've had such a great knowledge base and history of coffee growth that it's some of the best coffee in the world, which is why we
That's right.
chose it. But it's also a big reason why we chose West Rock Coffee and these particular ones is that we're supporting
sustainable farming and these women-owned farms in Rwanda. And I mean, even I know your daughter's been to Rwanda, and I've been there many years ago, but it's a beautiful country and it's been through a terrible turmoil. And to be able to, in a little piece, this coffee is coming from people that really benefit from it. So it's kind of a cool thing. And we're going to tell that story more as we bring out more brands, because we're looking at other regions that we can kind of help support as well.
And we're paying fair market value and trying to increase those economies and do it the right way. So I want people to feel good about how this came about. Like, it's not just a random thing. I want people to understand your knowledge base in coffee, that it's not something you studied, but you lived right through experience and how you learned about roasts and where it was grown and the dry regions and the wet regions and what's different about it and the extraction of the coffee and so forth. So all of these areas, you've really helped me learn about coffee and help the process of me being accountable for my own health be enjoyable and flavorful as well, right? So
exactly.
So that's been a big thing. But all right, let's hit one more question here before we. I know we're getting close to our time. But.
Well, I in closing, really, Phil. I mean, we're going to do more of these, right? Because we want to kind of share with you what we're working on, and you've been nice enough to give us your time and allow us to do this. So for our subscribers like you, we're going to try and do a few more of these. And so the more questions we get from you, the more we'll be able to build this into something that we do more often. I want to take this time to thank you all and wish you all, a great holiday season. And really, the question I have for you is what's next? What are you going to do to chill out this holiday season? And then when are we going to see you back playing golf?
So I took the last couple of weeks off.
Mm-hmm.
Amy and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. Most remarkable person I've ever met. And I've been lucky to spend this much time with her. And she wanted to go see the Northern Lights. So we went up to Iceland.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize what else you could do in Iceland, and there's a ton.
Is there?
So we had a chance to ride ATVs on a black sand beach on the water and snow. So you have the white snow, the black sand beach, and the water. It was exquisite. There was a hotel there, probably my favorite hotel in the world, called the Retreat.
Wow. And
it was built around this blue lagoon. And this blue lagoon came about from a geothermal power plant that started in the late 80s. And they extracted water from about a mile down in the earth, and the pressure of this hot water is like 1,000 degrees. I don't know how hot it is. Wow. It's really hot. The pressure is where they extract the energy. So the water comes up, and they thought that it would just dissipate back through the porous lava and back into the ground, but it didn't. It actually pooled and created these lagoons.
Wow.
Well, in the 90s,
they're warm.
Yeah, in the 90s, some idiot who turned out to be a genius ended up jumping in the water, right? And they're like, this is great. Well, the minerals and the silica and the minerals from the earth turned out to have these massive healing effects. So getting back to psoriatic arthritis, a lot of people go there to cure their psoriasis, their skin issues. And I found that a lot of my areas that I have ended up healing up a lot quicker as we would spend time in this blue lagoon. It was hot. It was geothermal. It was 105, 110 degrees. Felt great. And this hotel was awesome because it was 5-star, and it ended up encouraging you to walk around in your robe, which I'm totally down for. Like, I don't want to get dressed up all the time. So we ended up doing that. We found an ice castle.
Wow.
An ice castle, an ice cave, that was a whole excursion to get there. So you drive 2 hours, then we get off-road in a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and you're driving on this white snowed road. If you fall off, you get stuck. And you can't see. We had zero visibility, and there were these like poles along the road. Well, sure enough, we got stuck. You couldn't see where you're going. The guy falls off the road. Somebody's got to come tow us out. So we had, after a 2-hour drive, we had another hour drive of that. Then you get on a snowmobile, and we were in zero visibility. I had never driven a snowmobile. 45-minute drive, zero visibility, and we get to this ice cave, but it was worth it because it was the most spectacular thing. In fact, I'll post some pictures on
that's cool.
my Instagram or Twitter on some of these pictures because it was remarkable. And then we went to Copenhagen and had one of the most exquisite culinary experience. I had no idea Copenhagen was great.
Yeah.
So we wanted to go to Vienna
Yeah,
because Vienna is famous for coffee and wine.
it is. It is.
Two of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then Salzburg, which is where Mozart was born, and Hitler spent a lot of his time vacationing or what have you. And I just wanted to see that and experience a little bit more. But they got shut down because of some COVID issues, and we were able to get to Copenhagen and Denmark and Iceland, and it had a blast. So I'm just now getting back at it. We are headed over to TPI after this
little coffee.
discussion
Decent work.
and learn about some speed training and so forth, and finding out on the power, what do you call those, force plates, on where I'm pressuring and how my swing is and where I can increase speed. And in the golf swing, you have, as you were explaining, you have vertical force, you have rotation, rotary force, and then you have a combination of both. And I actually don't really know which one mine is and what the best way to create that speed and power is.
We'll have some fun. We'll check it out. And then when are we going to see you playing?
So I have been discussing it with Amy. We haven't committed to anything. I'm obviously going to play the Amex because I'm involved with that, and we're helping out the local community there with we create a foundation to help that Coachella Valley. And then I'll play there. I'll play in San Diego. I'm going to go to Saudi Arabia and play over there. I'll come back and play LA, and I may play in Hawaii this year.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about playing the first week, the Tournament of Champions. Now, I don't normally play there. I haven't been there in 20 years, but I honestly, I just don't know how many times I'm gonna have a chance to go back, right? And I would hopefully I'll have multiple chances to go back, but I would like to go back and play, since it may be my last chance there. And I also am spending more time in the off season trying to get ready. Like after these last couple of weeks, like we're getting back to work. I'm going through a full physical analysis. You have it locked up on the 20th, and I'm going to try to get my body ready and my mind ready, and have the right support throughout the round. And see if I can make 2022 one of the best years ever.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, listen, it's been great to be with you for this time. We want to wish you the best and great, happy, and healthy holiday season. And make sure you drink some coffee.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for spending the morning with us.
Thanks so much.